Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we get to sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players and related music industry experts. If you love playing guitar, stick around. You're in the right place. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber from Everyone Loves Guitar, and today we've got a really interesting guest. We're here with Bill DiLuigi. He's a singer, songwriter, musician, and I guess, is it fair to say, Bill, that you spend most of your time focusing on the songwriting aspect now?
Yeah, pretty much. I still play guitar, do some songwriter shows of my own, play guitar for other people and sing backups, but say about 70% of the time I'm songwriting.
Fair enough, which is interesting because I have not talked to someone who spends that much time writing songs. And I've heard, we interviewed Cherish Lee early this week, and you wrote all the songs except for one on her new EP. Shay Watson, when I interviewed him, he mentioned your name like 4 times. And then when I finished, I say, hey, man, can you introduce me to that Bill DiLuigi guy? Because you said his name like 4 times, and he sounds like somebody I should meet. So that was good. Bill was part of the band Sierra's Mantra in the 2000s. They were out of Pennsylvania, and the band mixed the heaviness of Soundgarden with female vocals and sampling, which is interesting also. His background as a worship leader also helped him to learn the craft of Christian music. In 2005, Bill moved to Nashville, and he teamed up with a longtime friend, Melissa Balea, from 2013 to 2016, and became a staff writer for Rhyme Partners on Music Row. Today, he's a staff writer for 888 King Music in Nashville. Here's just a few of the hits. He's had over 200 cuts, including Lone Stars, Richie McDonald, Forerunner, Rachel Holder on Curb Records, and Aaron Pritchett. He's been a Juno Award nominee, which is like Canada's Grammy Awards. He's had songs in the Billboard Americana Top 100 and Music Row Chart Top 100. He's had 2 hit songs in Australia. He's had songs in major films and on TV. He's been a cast member of the reality show The Song. He's a professional acoustic guitarist and background singer with national touring acts. And he's also the past Grand Prize Song Contest winner of American Songwriter magazine. So, Bill, thanks so much for your time, man. It's a Saturday. I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to talk with me.
My pleasure. Boy, I sound a lot more impressive on paper.
You know, everybody says that. Like, everybody, they're like, wow. Because everybody's always like, man, what do you want me to write? Or I just like, well, give me the highlights, you know. You've done interesting stuff. And that's what everybody says, you know. You're currently a staff writer for 888 King Music. Can you explain, just for the listeners, what that means as being a staff writer and what 888 Music is?
Yeah, actually, staff writer is just someone who writes for a publishing company, is on staff, and then, basically they write songs every day, and the publishing company pitches the songs to artists, or, we write with other publishing companies who in turn pitch their songs, or we write with the artists themselves as Cherish when somebody comes in and says, hey, we're making a record, could we write with one of your writers? So actually 888 King is really just my publishing company now. I was on a co-publishing situation for three and a half years with Rhyme Partners. Now I'm independent. So that's just the name of my company. So it's kind of like I'm the staff writer, I'm the CEO, I'm the head of creative.
Okay, so which is great because now you don't have to split anything with anybody.
Yes.
Yeah, you own. Yeah, okay. That was going to be my next question because I'm like, if you are a staff writer with a publishing company that's not your own publishing company, does that mean anything you ever write, you have to split with that publishing company?
Correct. Everything you ever write. And what a generally situation is, it's like a sales kind of a situation. You get a draw every month, and then you turn in, whatever the company requires, X number of complete songs a month, maybe 10 or 12, and then any revenue that comes off of that, you split with the publishing company, basically, and they split the demo costs as well.
Interesting. Okay, so when you say songs, you mean just lyrics or lyrics and music? Or
lyrics and music. So a completed work tape or work track in the studio you would turn in.
So you had to be pretty, writing a song is one thing, but doing a demo and, sort of a 50 to 75% finished product, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, and I mean the way the industry is kind of now, everybody that's a lot of writers are writer producers, just like it used to be. You know, like it started in the pop world, now it's in the country world as well. So a lot of times I'll be writing with a writer producer artist, and we'll come up with a concept. We'll actually come out of there with like a finished demo that sounds like you could go pitch it that day in about 4 hours. You know,
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So the other thing I wanted to, if we could explain, you said you had over 200 cuts. I know what that is because I've spoken to a lot of musicians, artists, and writers. But can you explain for the listeners what it means when I said that you have over 200 cuts?
Yeah, it just means that someone has recorded a song that I've written and pitched to them, or I've written with the artist and then it went on the record. So that's just a placement, a cut. Yeah.
Okay. What were some of the songs or artists that you wrote or co-wrote that were in the Billboard Americana Top 100?
I had a song on the Billboard Top 100 Americana. It was called Better at Goodbye, and the artist's name is Chantel Ogden. And she's kind of she's done a lot of records, really great records. Most of it's very rootsy. This one was pretty rootsy, folksy even a little bit, and it was a ballad called Better at Goodbye.
Do people, at this point, you've been at this a while and you've had some success, so do people seek you out, or do you still pitch them, or both?
Both. A lot of people do seek me out, especially if they live in Nashville and they're making a record. They'll say, you know, can we have an appointment? And yeah, a lot of people do seek me out. Or they're looking for songs as well. They're like, hey, what do you got in this vein or that vein? You know. Okay,
so a lot of it is you could meet an artist and you know that you have a song in your catalog of, you know, songs that your work, your intellectual property, and that'll be a fit for them.
Yep, exactly.
So
exactly.
Okay, so like the old expression as a creative, you know, nothing's ever wasted, is really true in this case.
Absolutely. I mean, give you an example of that. Long story short, I think it was 10 years ago. There's a guy named Monty Roberts, and he's a big horse guy. He wrote this book called The Horse Whisperer, It Sold the Horse. And they asked us to write a theme song for him. So we wrote a theme song and, you know, got caught up on horses. And nothing ever happened until about 3 weeks ago. I see, hey, it was in a movie that was nominated for some film festival, and they put this big montage of wild horses behind it. So it took about 9 years for me to see a product.
Wow. So I would imagine half your challenge has got to be like indexing, in being on top of your own personal inventory. How do you, is there, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I write ad copy. I've written hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ads and sales letters. And many times there's something relevant from one to the other. But with a song, I think it's tougher because you know, how do you categorize that, or how do you stay on top of that?
It's kind of hard. I mean, basically nuts and bolts. You know, every day I have a list, and of course I have the lyric with everybody's publishing information and contact information on it, and then I have a master list of the songs I write every day, and then, but you know, a lot of them may end up just as work tapes, which I also transfer over to my phone. As far as demos go, basically I keep them in a folder and they're in alphabetical order. So it's kind of reinventing the wheel every time I go. I rely on my memory to go, this person's looking for a song. Yeah, that sounds like George Strait, or that I know this one, but then I'll have to go back and actually look through my whole files, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, you got probably thousands of songs in there.
I do. I have a lot of songs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Some of the movies your songs have appeared in, what were those, if you could share?
Yeah, we got, there was a movie series called Cowgirls and Angels. The first one was out, I don't know the year, but a few years back with Bailey Madison. And first one was called Cowgirls and Angels. Second one was called Cowgirls and Angels. Man, I don't know this. Dakota Summer. And the third one was called Cowgirls and Angels. Don't remember the subtitle. But I've had a bunch of songs in those movies, and they get a lot of play, so I was happy with that. A movie called The Sunday Horse with William Shatner. It's odd. I get a lot of horse placements.
Yeah.
And I've never ridden a horse since I was like 9 years old.
Didn't do much horseback
crazy.
riding in Philadelphia, no?
And there were some other movies along the way. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think what the other one was. Storm Rider, another horse movie,
Wow.
believe it or not. Yeah, I've had a lot of horse movies.
So every time this movie's played, does everybody that's involved get like paid on that? So that when they play the movie, your song gets played, do you get paid on that again? How does that?
Well, you get paid up front a licensing fee.
Oh, okay.
And then what happens is when it gets into the various play formats, so then it'll get on television, and it'll be on network television, and then cable television, and then you get a payment for all that. Then it'll go over to Netflix, and then you get a whole new series of payments for that.
That's great. And I'm assuming there's an organization or somebody that keeps on top of all this stuff?
Yeah, the performing rights organizations, there's 3 of them in the U.S., and I belong to CSAC.
Okay, so you kind of explained this, but I just want to hash through it again. When you write a song, okay, after the song is written, do you go to like directly to an artist or to music agents for licensing and sync? Like, what's the process? You write the song, and how does it get to, you write a song and you think it'll be good for a movie. How does that,
right?
Do you go to a, like somebody that's involved in movie songs?
I have, through the years, various contacts in that area, and also other companies that we kind of do reciprocal agreements with that, they'll go, I need whatever it is, hip hop for this so-and-so movie. Do you have anything? Or I'll come up with a contact. I need, Bollywood music. And I'll go, I don't have anything like that. And I'll call that company and go, hey, so we help each other out. We give each other a little cut that way.
Gotcha.
Sometimes I actually write with artists who are actresses or actors that they're in the movies. That's how I got the Cowgirls stuff. The artist that I was working with was actually in the movie. When it comes down to getting a song cut just on a record, not a sync situation, a lot of times, I have contacts through the years that I go, hey, my friend will call and go, I'm producing this guy over on Sony Records. Do you have an upbeat country song with some meat in the lyric? And I'll go, yeah. So there's various and sundry ways. It's all from connections, contacts. Yeah.
It seems like everybody, at least in Nashville, and I don't know if this is unique to Nashville, but everybody's really supportive of pushing. Nobody's proprietary, really, with their. They tend to be very open and saying, "Hey, here's something that you could do," and I guess people do that regularly because it comes back. That's very unlike the business world.
Yes.
Very much, very open. I have never seen, and everybody's so cool about it too, which is nice. But it was, being a business guy, it's really interesting seeing that because people tend to be more proprietary in the business world.
The thing about Nashville is that's what it's called like Little Big Town because the reason it's that way is, how can I say it? If you do somebody wrong, we'll know about it by lunchtime. If you're a good dude and you're a good hang, we'll know about it by lunchtime too. So you shoot yourself in the foot when you come down and you do something dirty. It's all over town and nobody wants to deal with you.
Okay.
So it's very, very, there's a lot of contacts here, but it's also kind of a really small neighborhood, like where the neighbors all gossip and go, hey man, did you hear about so-and-so?
Yeah. But everybody's been really cool. I mean, very supportive and open with everybody, it seems. Okay. When you write a song, like any creative art, obviously it's got your own stamp on it. Just like when a guitar player plays a solo, you could tell it's that guy playing. It's, like your musical fingerprint. In looking back, though, is there anything you could identify, anything specific about song you wrote that became hits versus ones that didn't? I know that's a broad question because there's so many moving parts and so many people touching it. But I'm wondering, like, for people that are listening who are aspiring songwriters, like, is there anything they should be thinking about, or is this really dependent on who gets it in front of them more than anything else?
I think it's. I'm thinking of a couple of songs that were hits. Had two songs that were hits in Australia, and one in Canada that was nominated for the Juno last year. They told a story, and they were very visual. I'm kind of a visual writer, so I almost I put myself into the scene like it's a 3-minute movie, and go, what happens next? How would I feel when this happens? And try to take the listener into that little 3-minute movie in a very visual manner. That's kind of my strength. Now, some people, it's melody. They're just like, you don't even care what they're saying in the words because the melody and the parts are so cool. But that's more pop music.
Yeah.
But try to be very visual and take the listener there.
Interesting. Thanks. Does the fact that you're a musician help you, I'm assuming, in putting melodies together?
Absolutely. Yeah.
How could you be a songwriter if you weren't a musician, I would imagine?
Well, there are some. It's kind of a dying breed again, but there are some people that are just amazing lyricists. The thing about a good lyricist is that they can write in pentameter of some sort, so they can have a rhythm to the top line, as well as the good lyrical content, even if they don't do melody and harmony.
Gotcha.
But these days, it's really hard unless you're Chris Christopherson, because everybody's kind of carrying some extra weight, being a track person, singing, playing,
Yeah, sure. Are you working on anything right now you're particularly excited about?
I am. I'm excited about a couple things coming out. I got the honor to write with Hank Sr.'s granddaughter, Hillary Williams. And I don't know if you've interviewed her yet, but she's an amazing person.
Have not.
And she has, we wrote a song called Faith, parentheses, Shoot of Prayer. And she actually is putting two versions of it on the record. One sort of Americana version, and the other one that Ricky Skaggs did a really cool guitar arrangement on. And that's coming out this year on a record called Lucky Scars, which is an awesome title for a record.
That is a great title, man. Yeah.
I think it's Thank My Lucky Scars.
That's awesome.
So I'm excited about that. I'm also excited about Blessed Union of Souls. I don't know if you remember Blessed Union.
I do.
Yeah. Well, they're putting a record together this year, and I've been writing with Elliot, the leader of that band. Me and Shay actually have been writing a lot with Elliot, so I'm excited to get a couple songs on that one as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, that's really cool. Those are good projects, man.
Yeah.
You're originally from Philly. What was growing up there like? What was your childhood like?
It was very, I grew up in a small town. It was a very blue-collar, working-class steel mill town. Like, you either worked at the steel mill or the paper mill. That was kind of your two choices.
I hear you.
Two sisters, mom and dad, working-class neighborhood, hard workers, just did all the stuff, And
did your dad work in the mill?
Yeah, he worked at the steel mill. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So growing up there in that kind of an environment, what was the biggest influence as an adult that growing up there brought to you?
I think like that, the working ethic, the working class ethic, which is like put on a jersey and show up every day, and get out there and do it. Like have a good work ethic, because a lot of people, it's not for lack of talent they don't make it. It's for lack of perseverance. Because you never know the song that you write today, what it's going to be. It may be something that sits on an iPhone. It might be a Grammy-winning song. But if you don't get up and do it, you don't have it.
Yeah, totally, man. What was your earliest exposure to music? How'd you get into music, and how did that lead to like a professional career in it?
I think I remember like church, the organ music. When I was a kid, I was like, wow, that like they had the big organ with the pipes,
Yeah.
I was like, man, there's just something cool about that. It just like takes me away to somewhere else. And then I remember seeing like a band in the park when I was 10, with their Fender's super reverb and like, a bass and a drum. And I was like, dude, that's cool, man. I want to do that.
And then you got involved playing guitar. Is that what you played?
Yeah.
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 And then it just took you pursued it, as you said.
Yeah, I had bands all in my elementary school and, all through my adolescence.
At a certain point in time, you made a commitment to songwriting. What was the allure of that as opposed to continuing to focus on the playing end?
It was kind of like, long story short, I had been doing the playing thing for a long time. We had a band. We had the band Sierra's Mantra, and we cut some tracks in New York. We had a producer and played regionally from New York down to Maryland and all that stuff. But kind of crashed and burned, and I was like, man, I knew I had been given this sort of God-given talent to write songs, but I didn't know what to do with it. So I took a break and just kind of chilled out and took some time. I became a worship leader in a church for a while and just kind of like reevaluated everything. And then all of a sudden, after about 2 years, like every single person I met was telling me about they go to Nashville to do songwriting. Like every time I turned around, right? So I'm like, all right, maybe I should check this out. And Naris had a thing up there. They used to call it the Songathon. And you could submit songs to Naris, and they would pick out the best songs. Anyway, I had written this song. It was more like a bluegrass song, and it got picked in the top 10. Went to the event and connected with some people from ASCAP and Nashville and some other songwriters, and that's what started my path to Nashville.
Very cool. So, like, basically the universe was giving you a message, and you listened.
Everywhere I turned. Yeah, it was like, hey... I remember even standing in line at the Naris event, like getting ready to talk to the ASCAP person, and this guy's tapping on my shoulder. I'm like, hey man, I'll talk to you in a minute. I got to talk to this guy about Nashville. And he goes, hey, I was going to tell you about Nashville.
So you literally couldn't get away from it, actually.
I was like, God, I get it.
Yeah. I heard this this story one time. It was called Whisper or a Brick, and it was basically the moral of the story was like the universe is going to whisper things to you, but if you don't listen at some point in time, they're going to hit you over the head with a brick. And if you don't listen then, they're usually in trouble.
That's a good analogy. I like that. Whisper or brick.
Whisper
That's
or
good.
Brick. Yeah, I know it was quite a while ago, and it was
wow.
I thought it was pretty powerful because as I've gotten older, I've looked for those things. Because I've made a lot of bad decisions, so I might as well listen to something else besides me, because that might not be like the best barometer at times. I made some good ones too, but I'm very open to which is why made me start this podcast actually. So when you first got into this, were there any surprises? Not necessarily bad, good, bad, or otherwise, but just things that you were okay. About the business end of the business of songwriting and making music?
Yeah, I think there were. I had a mentor in Pennsylvania about 15 years ago, a hit songwriter who had an office on the row but never moved his family down to the row. And his name was Jim Femino. And I used to go in for mentoring sessions with him, and he'd say, this is the way it works. You do this, and this is how it happens. And I was like, dude, that's crazy. I can't believe that's the way it works, And he's like, well, just listen to what I'm telling you. Everything he said came true, After 15 years, I was like, you're right, Jim. So there's a lot of things, I guess I had the impression, which maybe a lot of people do, that, if you're talented, it's going to be pretty easy. Like somebody's going to hear your song and they're going to sign you to this big publishing deal, and it's going to happen, in a year or two. And Jim would say, well, you got to be there. You got to show up every day and put the jersey on and make contacts. I'm like, it's not going to take that long.
Yeah, it's amazing how many parallels to the music industry starting business world has. It's a grind, man. Everything is a grind. Even if you're good, great, you got to grind it out for a while. That's it. No matter what, it's a grind, and the problem is we all hear stories of, oh, this happened to this guy and boom. That's just not, that's like, I when I consult in marketing, people, they think everything is like, oh, I'm going to make the iPhone. It ain't going to happen, man. That's 1 in 100,000 products, 1 in a million products maybe, but everything's a grind. Doesn't mean you can't do well, but you got to be prepared to grind it out in the beginning.
Yes.
Along those lines, we all pay tuition in our careers, and I was wondering if you'd be kind enough to maybe share 1 or 2 mistakes you made along the way, and what were the lessons you learned from them?
I guess a couple, maybe 2 things which I see as a common beginning writer mistake is sort of a lack of focus as to, like, you get to town and there's so many people here and there's so many writers, and you can get caught up in just like writing every day without any kind of path, without any kind of purpose, just writing with anybody. And I want to qualify that by saying there is a time period when you do just need to write because you're trying to mature as a writer. But then there's a point to where, okay, what's the purpose of this? Is there any chance for financial gain? I probably would have done something like, instead of doing that for a couple of years, I might have looked into something like ASCAP has a program called GPS, and they accept writers under their wing for like a year mentoring program. And then about 70% of them get publishing deals. That's probably what I would have done, but I didn't even know about it. So anybody that's listening, check out GPS with ASCAP. It's a really good program. The other thing I think would be like demo costs, especially before I had any kind of co-publishing arrangement or anything. I would demo songs that I would spend a lot of money on demos, that songs that really just weren't ready to demo, or I didn't have a pitch. They were too narrow, of a pitch and stuff like that. So think about where you spend your demo dollar.
When you say too narrow of a pitch, you mean the song was it was too niched it wasn't broad enough appeal?
Yeah, it might have been so specific, like one kind of incident that, that one's, a lot of times these days singers don't want to sing a story. They want to sing something that's their personal experience. So if it's too limiting or too negative or...
Yeah, I get that. I totally get that. And so that comes with maturity that you're talking about, being able to understand that. So, yeah, that's a really good...
So.
That's great advice, man. Thank you for sharing that. Let's look at the flip side of that. Hindsight being 20/20, is there anything that you did at the time that you did it that was like, I had to take a deep breath, it was a tough thing for you, but it turned out to be a good decision, a big breakthrough?
Yeah, I think, again, one of my mentors told me, let everybody record your songs. Like, just let everybody record them. And even if it's not very much money from a small cut. And there was times like I went, this song is really good. I don't want this artist. Really, basically, nobody's going to hear this except the 500 people that buy the CD and, the 500 views on YouTube. Like, should I really let this person record this song, or should I wait and get, the band
find
Perry
a bigger fish? Yeah.
Yeah. But, I followed that advice every time pretty much without exception. And a lot of those songs turned into movies and television. They turned into radio songs. So that's one that it was hard at first, but I followed through on.
That's really cool. So once someone records a song, is it limited to them? Could you not have said, well, I also want to let other people record it, or that's not cool? Once
someone records a song, anybody can ask for a mandatory license on it to record it. So when you have a song recorded the first time, you have the right of first refusal on it, which means you can ask for a minimum amount of units on the song.
Okay.
Because... it's got to be at least, 10,000, 20,000 units, or I'm not going to do it.
Gotcha. Well, that's good that it worked out. That's a real good thing.
Yep.
If you weren't doing what you're doing now, what do you think you'd be doing instead?
Man, that's a tough one.
Yeah, it is.
I might be traveling the world, or I don't know. I don't know what else. It would have to be writing of some sort. I mean, I'm interested in the Bible, and I love studying the Greek text and the Hebrew text and digging into that stuff. So it might be some kind of inspirational writing.
Happiest moment or time in your life so far?
Man, probably like being 11 years old, having a cassette deck with some rock and roll on it, camping out with my buddies, going up in the woods on the weekend, building a bonfire and sleeping outside, just staying out all night, shooting BB guns and all that stuff.
See, now that's a writer's answer. You're you're specific. It wasn't like, hanging out with my buddies. You're like, I was 11 years old. We went out, we saw the campfires. We were doing this. We had our BB guns. That's a writer, but that's all right. You have to be specific when you write. That's the way it is, man. But I noticed that's a different answer than I get from people that may not be writers. The emotion's the same, and the sense of nostalgia that is they're sharing. I can feel that it's the same, but your explanation is a little different because of what you do. Who's the most important person in your life?
I guess I'd say, it's hard to pick between my mom and dad, but my parents really instilled a great work ethic, great love of God and family and stuff like that. So I'd say my parents.
Cool, man. What's the most important thing your dad ever taught you?
I think to work hard and stay at it, stick at something. Don't quit it.
Yeah, that's a valuable lesson, because a lot of times, like I've seen guys in business, man, they could be on the 10-yard line, man, and they're just, you got to hang in there, man.
Yes.
How about your mom? What's the most important thing she taught you?
To see good in people, to give people a second chance, and like you never know what somebody's going through. So see good in everybody.
That's nice, man. That's good. Be empathetic. What's your superpower?
Man, I guess my superpower is trying to breathe life into people, trying to encourage people, seeing, again, it's kind of like what my mom did, seeing the good in somebody and saying, hey, man, don't put yourself down for that. You can do this, that kind of thing. That's
nice, man. So you do a lot of like mentoring, or maybe not even official mentoring, but you like to give people the push they need.
I do. It comes with the territory, especially a lot of new artists. I see a lot of new talent, and they come to town and they're even afraid to songwrite. I'm like, songwriting's not as scary as you think. And we've developed we've developed the sound of a lot of artists doing that, and they come out with something that's like really them, but it's really commercial as well.
Yeah. What's the nice thing about that is too, and I know you're not doing it for this reason, but probably you develop a lot of good relationships professionally that turn into something like, it's a positive emotional vibe you start on that happens to develop into a nice business relationship. Because, when, someone comes to me, if I'm not confident in myself and you're a writer, and I say, hey, well, would you open to writing with me? And maybe, so some good stuff comes out of that for both of you guys.
Absolutely.
That's nice, man. Really nice. Single or married, or single in a relationship? I don't say married anymore. I can't say that. No one's married, right?
I'm divorced and single.
Divorced, but yeah,
not in a relationship.
I had to change that, because like all these younger cats would be like, and I realized I was old, and I said, okay. All right, because nobody gets married, and even like our generation, because we're close in age, our generation.
Yes.
And now it's like, you have a baby, you don't even get married, which is, I don't care. I'm not judging, but it's just like, it's different. Not what I'm used to,
Right.
We had like the formula, you get married, you have a kid. Now it's, whatever. Biggest business or personal win so far?
I think one of the biggest business ones was we did a national deal with a company called the Boot Barn, and we had their theme song for a year, and it was a really great deal. And plus they So it played on all the stations all the time, all over America.
That's awesome.
It was cool. It was cool.
Personal, biggest personal win.
I guess being able to just come here to Nashville and do what I love for a living. I mean, you can't put a price on that at all.
Sure, man. That's most musicians. Most musicians I speak to that are successful and that have experienced levels of success are always give some version of that answer in one of the questions that I might ask them, like, just being that I'm getting paid to do this. It's, they when they say they're living the dream, they genuinely mean living the dream,
Right on.
Just like you just did. You have any interests outside of music?
Yeah, I do. I really like martial arts. I've been in martial arts for years.
Oh, cool. Which one?
So I've done them all, and right now because my knees, I did Taekwondo, I did Kung Fu for years, but your knees can only take so much of hard kicking. So I've gotten to Tai Chi about 6 years ago, Tai Chi and Qigong.
Cool.
And I love it. Yeah, it's really a great thing.
That probably chills you out too. Like, it's very therapeutic, I would imagine.
Very. Keeps you centered physically, spiritually, mentally. It's great.
Yeah, that's cool. That's great. That's a great, physical fitness is awesome, man. Favorite place you've traveled?
Man, Africa. I just got back from Africa. It was amazing. And, wow, I'm blown away. I can't even put it into words,
That's awesome.
Beautiful place.
Toughest decision you've ever had to make or hardest thing you've ever had to do so far?
Let's see. Man, I guess it was possibly cutting ties in Pennsylvania like 12 years ago, and saying goodbye to what was very familiar and safe to make this journey. That was really hard, but I knew I had to do it.
Yeah, and it's paid off well.
Yes.
Awesome. Two more things. One question is, what's your definition of happiness?
I think happiness is there's happiness and there's contentment. Happiness is, I just got a major cut and I'm going to get a lot of money. Oh, I got the money. Oh, it wasn't as much as I thought. Oh, when's my next major cut coming? I just got a new car. I'm kind of tired of it now. That's happiness.
Which is so transient. It's transitory or transient.
That's the word, transient. Contentment is joy.
Yeah, man.
And contentment is like the people in Africa where I just went. They basically have nothing. They have some food on the table and a mud hut to live in and no power, but they are content and joyful with what they have. So to me, I'm a spiritual person. I'm not really religious, but I have a good relationship with Jesus, and it's like I'm content that he fills my spirit and gives me peace, and I'm content with everything I have. I think is a blessing. I have food, I have a house, so that's contentment or joy. I think that's the difference. One
is permanent and one's fleeting.
Yes.
Gotcha, man. And the second thing is, I know you're involved with charity work is important to you. You want to share some of that work that you're doing and maybe turn people on to some of the organizations you're working with that they may be interested in?
Sure. I just got back from Kenya and we partnered with Crosspoint Church and an organization called 401 Bridge. 401 Bridge goes into all the third world countries and lets the country or community define their need. So in this particular case, it was Kenya. There was a village that they had their school in corrugated tin shacks, and they needed better buildings. It's very hot. The equatorial sun is really hot. So those tin shacks were really hot or really cold. So we built concrete block school. We put up a fence, and we met with the tribal leaders and just saw their need. Their next need is for books. Sometimes 8 kids share one book.
Wow.
And they get into the problem with that is they have a system. It's like you go to grades 1 through 8 and then 9 through university. Once you get to grade, you have to take an exam to get into grade 9 so you can continue on to university. A lot of the kids have farm chores to do or they can't afford books and they don't make that examination. So they have an 8th grade education and they have to go out and farm or fend for themselves. So we're going to raise money for books, and I'll have some information on my Facebook about that, my socials.
Great. And where could people find you online? What is there anything you want to promote, or how could people, if somebody wants to get in touch with you to potentially pony up with you to either write songs or look at your song catalog and get some of your songs, how do we find you online?
Yes, sir. You can find me at BillDiLuigi.com. You can find me on Facebook as Bill DiLuigi, not Bill DiLuigi Songwriter. That page is not active. You can find me on Instagram as Bill DiLuigi, and you can find me at 888song on Twitter.
Awesome. Let me spell your name for everybody. So check Bill out. It's Bill DiLuigi, BILLDILUIG as in George I. It's BillDiLuigi.com. Same thing on Facebook, same thing on Instagram, or 888song on Twitter, you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Man, I really appreciate your time. It was really interesting to learn all about this stuff, and you're an awesome guy, and I know everybody loves you. And so thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Craig. I appreciate it.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I did. And thanks again to Bill DiLuigi for spending his time with us. Check Bill out online, again, at Facebook, Instagram, 888song on Twitter, or BillDiLuigi.com. Go to everyonelovesguitar.com. Sign up to get notified about future episodes, along with some cool new stuff for guitar players. Be nice. Go play your guitar and have fun, everybody. Till next time, I am out. Peace. Thanks again, Bill. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.